Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Retro Warriors episode 324. Woo. As always, I'm your host, Justin Baker, and as always, I'm joined by resident old bastard Chris Saturn.
324 sounds like a big number.
It is a large number.
Yeah, I looked up because the last episode we did the Dreamcast 101, and I wanted to see when we had done our previous Dreamcast episode, and it was in August of 2016.
Oh my God.
That was over 5 years ago.
Oh my God, that was a lifetime ago.
Right?
In the pre-COVID times.
That's true.
Which is, as more time goes on, is becoming a delineating time in my life.
Right? Well, for everyone, really.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, that's what I mean. It's interesting. Anyway, yes. We do have housekeeping.
We do.
Which is that I want to thank you, Saturn.
Uh-oh.
Because my child was as sick as she's ever been in her life this entire week. So you just did this whole episode by yourself, and I had basically no input.
However, I might have been delirious when I wrote up the notes because they're nonsense. But we'll figure it out. We'll make an episode out of whatever nonsense I put in there.
So if this episode seems a little weird, that's why. Sorry. My kid got I don't think she's been that sick that long ever in her 5.5 years. Right? She's still a little congested. The problem is she's not good at coughing like the congestion up, so it has caused some other issues. But she missed.
I take the opposite approach. I just blow my nose constantly so that nothing can actually drain down that needs to be coughed up.
She missed almost a whole week of school. She did get to go back for half of one day, but they sent her home.
Oh, that sucks.
So just wrecked my week. Work was off. Everything was off. It was just off. Because it didn't occur to me. They're like, oh, I've got a job now. And it's like, oh, my kid's home. Oh. Uh-oh.
Better learn to multitask.
Yeah. So my whole week is, and then of course on top of dealing with just a very sick kid.
Right.
And it was like 2.5 days of like really just very. Because when your kid gets sick, there's this era where you're like, all right, they're just home and they're kind of chilling, watching cartoons. I can go about my normal daily stuff.
Yeah.
And then she reached the level of sick of like, all right, my whole life is now on hold because she's getting round the clock care kind of sick.
Yeah.
And we were in that stage for about 2 days. Oof. Which was pretty touch and go for a little bit there.
But she tested negative for COVID twice, right?
Yeah, no, she did get. We have rapid tests at home because we're in the middle of nowhere, so we just have to order them and have them on hand.
Right.
She did test negative, as far as we know, or as far as the tests told us, it was not COVID.
Excellent.
And she is on the mend now, just still a little bit snotty, but feeling great.
That's excellent.
So she gets to go back to school on Monday. They forbade her from returning today, which is Friday.
Yeah,
they're like, don't send your kid back.
In my office, if we have any kind of cough or congestion or anything like that, they forbid us from coming in for 10 days.
Yeah. I told the school, I was like, she tested negative twice. Her doctor signed off on the tests we ran. I swear, like when we're not, trying to pull anything.
Yeah.
We wouldn't send her if we, and she hadn't been running fever for 24 hours when she went in.
Yeah.
But it was just, they were just like, nah, we're going to send her home.
Ugh. I'm glad she's feeling better.
Yeah, but all that to say that if this episode is weird, then blame Saturn.
It's probably my fault.
Did
it.
It
is. It may be weird. Yeah.
I've been playing the Morrowind and the Oblivion.
What is that?
I've been trying to get into Morrowind. I was talking to one of our Discord members about Morrowind, and he was like, "Yeah, Morrowind's great." And I'm like, "Man, I just cannot get into it." And I want to because I played so much of it when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. And I just can't. And so I was like, maybe, because Oblivion was my first real Elder Scrolls that I bought, like the day it came out. I pre-ordered it. I was excited. I got the special edition. It came with a coin.
Right.
I was like into it. Mm-hmm. And it came out, and I played so much of it. And I have not played more Oblivion since Oblivion was relevant.
Yeah.
I hadn't played it for a while before Skyrim came out, and then Skyrim came out, and I just have not gone back to it. And I was like, maybe Oblivion is where I need to go. Maybe that's my Elder Scrolls. That's the one with all my nostalgia and everything. And I went after playing a few hours of Morrowind and being like, yeah, it's there, but it's so slow and it's so dated, and it's just the walking speed is just a crawl. And so I went to Oblivion. I downloaded it on my Xbox and I booted it up, and immediately it was like coming home. I was like, "Oh man, This is it. This is my Elder Scrolls, fucking Oblivion." I played so much Oblivion, and I like Skyrim. And this is gonna sound like the weirdest complaint, but aesthetically, Skyrim is very like Nordic.
Yeah.
It's very Nordic themed. It's very like specifically like icy mountain. Like it has a very specific visual aesthetic.
Right.
That is very different than the visual language of Oblivion.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize how much I missed that visual language of Oblivion. And I played all the way through the tutorial, and I got out in the overworld, and I was like, this is it, man. Repeating grass textures as far as the eye can see. Pop in. This is it. I was like so excited. And I ran forward, and I jumped in a river, and I killed a fish, and I jumped out of the river, and a guy hit me once in the head, and I died, and the game hadn't auto-saved, and I lost all of my progress.
Perfect.
And I was like, oh yeah, I gotta save all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, I ran up to a guy and I was like, yeah, let's get into it. And I was just like, and just fucking died. I mean, immediately.
Nice.
But I want to go. The problem is the tutorial in Oblivion is long. I mean, it's like a good half hour of like sitting there playing through the game. And it's not particularly engaging,
right.
As far as tutorials go. I'll take it over the Skyrim tutorial, which is you have to play through that opening scene and you got to like go on a wagon ride and stuff. It's just real long. But maybe one day here in the next few days, I'll sit down and get back through that tutorial again, remake my character again.
Well, this time, save your character to the cloud, just in case.
Yeah, there you go. I put him up in the cloud.
Yeah.
I played so much Oblivion, and I don't think I even intentionally encountered the main story more than was absolutely necessary to get out of the first area. I remember I went into a cave, and I got bit by a vampire and turned into a vampire.
Wow.
And this is where I think the disconnect is, because and we were talking about Western RPGs and JRPGs a lot in the Discord this week, and there was a lot of discussion about like, well, Western RPGs kind of try to be more like a sandbox that you play in,
right,
in a world you inhabit, than a narrative that you are driving yourself through, right? And I think nothing is more indicative of that than in Oblivion, I became a vampire, and whereas normal people would go, well, how do I get rid of vampirism or whatever? Maybe I can load a save and I'll move forward. I just became a vampire.
Yeah.
And all I did in the game was crawl around at night and drink people's blood and steal things. Yeah, I was just like, it's a vampire game now. Now I'm a vampire, and all I do is vampire things.
Right.
Fuck the story. I don't care. I'm going to live forever.
Right.
Well, who cares? And that's just all I did in the game. I mean, for like crazy hours.
Yeah.
And that's what Oblivion was to me. It was a vampire game where I got to be a vampire.
The only Elder Scrolls game that I've played much of at all beyond the starting area before I got bored was Daggerfall, way back in the day. Which
I canned I've tried that.
You
want
to talk about games you can't go back to?
Tough.
Yeah, I can't. I can't go back to it at all. But I remember becoming a vampire in that. I feel like that's a thing that happened in that game. I can't say definitively because now I remember nothing of the game. And anytime I try to remember it, I have to ask myself, is this my memory of the game, or is this my memory of that guy John telling me about his memories of the game?
About his playthrough, yeah.
Right. So I can't say definitively that I remember anything at all, but I do remember there being vampirism.
Yeah. I do remember eventually I joined the Thieves Guild and did Thieves Guild things, but that just played into my vampire. At this point, I'm role-playing a vampire. It just played into my vampire lifestyle.
Yeah.
I remember I was a dark elf, or whatever they call dark elves, because they have high elves. I think they just call them dark elves, maybe.
They're low elves.
Yeah, and high elves and low elves. And then you got your mid-tier elves,
your mid-range elves, your bottom shelf elves.
And so, so that I want to get back into Oblivion, and then of course after that I booted up Skyrim because I'm playing Oblivion and I was like, man, this just feels so modern to me.
Yeah.
And this is when I knew that I had like strapped into the nostalgia rocket and fired off into rose tinted glasses land. Right? It's because I'm playing Oblivion and I'm like, this feels totally modern. I mean, how more updated than this could Skyrim even be? I don't even know that Skyrim's a better game.
Right.
And I boot up Skyrim and I'm like, man, I'm a fucking idiot. Like, this is leagues better and faster and just but I just have so much nostalgia for Oblivion, and I'm hoping I can play through it again and save my game. Would be nice.
Yeah. After that same set of conversations in the Discord, because it wasn't just the recent conversations, but throughout the last 15, 20 years now, people keep telling me, oh, you'll love the Elder Scrolls if you actually get past the beginning.
I don't know why they would think that you would love the Elder Scrolls.
Everyone seems to want to tell me that if I can just get far enough in, I'll absolutely love the world. And so I downloaded Skyrim.
Yeah. I don't know anything about the world of any Elder Scrolls game. I couldn't tell you. I could tell you about like the dungeons I went in, but I don't know.
I haven't launched it at all, so I don't know yet. Someday it's sitting on my laptop's hard drive so that eventually maybe I can give it a shot.
Now, I will say, to the game's credit, for someone like you that is like, no, I need a narrative to tell me where to go at all times, they do have that. Yeah. At all times, there's a compass at the top of your screen that points you the direction to walk for the story to progress. So, I don't know, maybe that'll be a thing where you're okay, that's enough direction. I don't know.
I might need someone to remote into my computer first to create the character for me so I can skip that whole phase. But then we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. You might just ahead of time like look up a build and just do exactly that.
Just hearing you describe that is making me not want to even touch it.
Describe what? Looking at a web page?
No, having to have custom builds for characters.
Well, you gotta like put points and stuff and things. It's just like your Japanese role-playing games.
They just auto-assign all that.
You got to decide which spells you want them to have and what equipment you want them to have. And, Final Fantasy 2, you got to figure out what skills you want to have them leveling up. Where do you want their materia to be? What do you want their gambits to look like? There's character customization in JRPGs.
Yeah, the more you say it, the less I want to play those games now. Anyway.
Turns out you just hate all video games now. That's what we've just...
Pretty much, yeah. Turns out I just play Operation now. Give me the tweezers. So
Operation doesn't make the noise anymore.
What?
Yeah, it scared children, which I read that and I was like, it's supposed to scare children. You're killing a man. But I digress. Because I own Operation. It just vibrates now. You did the awful thing and it's like, meh. It's not like, like it doesn't scream at you.
I want an Operation board that makes the VMuno battery noise.
I want one that just shocks you. Just shocks the hell out of you.
Electric shock.
And then you have to watch a video of the Operation guy's red-nosed family crying because you botched it.
Perfect.
It's one of those augmented reality games.
In VR. So the Final Fantasy IV Pixel Remaster came out.
Yes, so how is that?
It's good. I'm not ready to say it's the best version of the game, but it is a very good version of the game, especially for people who have not played Final Fantasy IV before. Mm-hmm. It is very obviously based on the GBA version. Mm-hmm. In fact, they copy-pasted the translation from the GBA version, which is weird because the translations for the 1, 2, and 3 Pixel Remaster all use the current terminology that the Final Fantasy franchise uses, and the GBA version doesn't. So now suddenly the FF4 Pixel Remaster uses old, outdated terminology right next to the 3 other Pixel Remasters that don't.
I think that they designed these Pixel Remasters by dartboard. That's the only conclusion I can come to.
Yeah, so it is based on the GBA version, but without any of the newer expanded elements that were in the GBA version, but it does keep all of the quality of life improvements of the GBA version.
Yeah,
so
that's good.
You have unlimited inventory. One new quality of life improvement is that arrows are no longer a consumable resource.
Excellent.
They are infinite. So if you have a type of arrow, you have unlimited of that type of arrow, which is very nice. the weirdest thing that they removed from the game is they removed the developer's office, which was taken out of the original American version of the game for censorship reasons. But every other version of the game, no matter how many times it had been re-released, always had the developer's office. Even the 3D remake had a new 3D developer's office. And in this one, when you go to where the developer's office would be, there's just a sign on the wall that says, closed former development office.
So they even acknowledged that it would be there, but... Because in my head, I'm like, well, maybe they cut it for content reasons, but then to acknowledge it is...
Right. Yeah. So it's very strange. I have not yet looked into to see if people have data mined it to see what items are in the game, because in the developer office in the original is a dirty magazine that you can find. And when you look at it, the screen turns red and then it goes back to normal and nothing happens. And so I'm curious if that item is still in the game or if it has also been dummied out along with the room, and maybe that is why, is they didn't want to deal with any change to the rating that could have. But even then, they could have just renamed it to something else.
Yeah.
But because it doesn't really do it anyway. But that's just the weirdest change. Other than that, it's a pretty solid port. One thing I noticed is that the amount of experience to reach each new level is halved from the original.
Oh, wow.
So you gain levels real quick.
So it's not out of, line to say that it is half as difficult as the original game.
Oh, yeah. I noticed when I first started the game that one of the achievements was get all characters to level 70. And I was like, how much fucking time do they think I have? And less than 20 hours in, all my characters were level 70.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty speedy version of FF4. So if you haven't played it, this is a good version to play. I'm still not 100% ready to say the best, but it is a very good version. Also, while I was playing that, I was looking at other versions of the games. And we got this new guy started at my office, and he came from Microsoft. They have an office in Las Colinas, not far from where I work. And he had worked for Microsoft for 25 years. And we were talking about stuff. And
did you immediately demand what the deal with Windows ME was?
He was not involved in Windows at all.
But you made up front. You made him. You checked, right?
I made all kinds of jokes. I was like, so we can blame you for everything at this point, just everything.
Yeah.
And he was like,
so did you want the tile thing in Windows 8, or was that
right? But no, we were chatting about stuff, and he was joking about Windows Phone and how everybody in the company was on Windows Phone. And I was like, man, I
had a couple friends that had Windows phones, and until it was clear that the marketplace had totally tanked,
right?
There was a minute there where people were like, no, this is a real alternative. This is nice. We like this,
right? And I was like, no, I never got around to trying it. I always kind of wanted to see what it was like, but I never got around to it. Yeah. And he was like, do you want one? And I was like, what? Why do you just trying to get rid of your old one? And he says, no, I've got 10 boxed Lumia 735s.
Oh my God. Can you get me one? Because I'd be all over that.
So I have a Windows Phone now.
Holy shit, you have it? What?
Yeah, he gave it to me.
We've been talking about other shit. You have a Windows Phone?
Yeah, he gave it to me.
How is it?
It's weird. It's like looking at the alternate dimension. It did take it 4 hours for it to download the new version of the store so that I could even do anything.
No. Yeah.
But once I did, it's neat. It's just Windows 10 on a phone. So since I was looking at it, I noticed that there was a version of Final Fantasy 1 on the Windows Store on it.
Oh my God, Saturn.
I was like, that's dumb. And then I look at it and it says supports Xbox Live achievements. I was like, only $5. I could pay $5 for that.
Oh my God.
And so now I'm trying to play Final Fantasy 1 on my new Windows phone, but it won't load the game. It just crashes as soon as I try to launch it. So now I'm tinkering with a Windows phone in my spare time and trying to get Final Fantasy 1 to load on it.
Is it too soon for you to get one for me, and then we do an episode on Windows Phone? Is it too soon for that? How old were those? It was 2010-ish?
In that area. It was around the time Windows 8 came out. But
that's 2 Windowses ago if you count 9, which didn't happen. 3. Well, 11's coming out.
11's going to be out in a couple of weeks. But no, it's weird because a lot of the games for it are just the exact same games you get anywhere else. So there's not really anything exclusive there. The weirdest part is I downloaded Microsoft Solitaire on it because I have that on Game Pass right now. So the version on my phone is ad-free because I have Game Pass. And so I was like, well, this is a Windows phone, and I'm going to have my Microsoft Solitaire on my Windows phone now. It doesn't recognize my Game Pass, so it's fucking loaded with advertisements.
So, oh no. How hard is it for you to resist carrying it around with you and just casually taking it out? And whenever people talk about their phones, like, oh yeah, it's an app you can download, and you'd be like, oh, that's weird. I don't see it on my Windows Phone store.
I was really tempted to throw my SIM card in it just to like spend a day or two on Windows Phone, but I did not want to call my provider and be like, hey, can you activate this Windows Phone?
What year is it?
Right. But no, it's neat. It's a neat little thing to play with.
Let's do some news.
Yes, sir.
First up, the PlayStation 5 is selling as quickly as the PlayStation Vita did in Japan, which is not an insult.
Right.
In Japan.
Yeah, so I looked up the numbers, and the PS Vita sold faster than the PS3 did in Japan. It sold faster than like the Wii U did in Japan. It sold faster than any of the Xboxes, obviously. So that's actually pretty good numbers for the PS5.
Of course, and people who don't hear a lot of bullshit corporate speak regularly might not recognize that what they're saying is it has sold fast.
Right.
They're not telling us how many have sold.
Correct.
Just that it's selling very quickly. All 10 that we made have sold out instantaneously. So, temper expectations.
Yeah, I think they had a number attached to it, and it was a pretty impressive number. But it was.
I cannot believe a piece of hardware that big is doing so well in Japan.
I am shocked.
Japan habitually does not like large electronics like that.
Right?
Living spaces tend to be smaller, and they value their space. greatly.
Which is especially weird because the PS5 is actually larger than a lot of Japanese apartments.
This is true. Actually, if you hollow it out, you can take shelter within the PlayStation 5.
This is true, and you can sublet.
This is what you get, Sony. All these years of Xbox jokes coming back around, ain't it? Ain't it?
Oh man, I love.
Who's got a big controller now?
Xbox. Oh, that was the best time.
Sony unceremoniously killed the PS3, PSV Little Big Planet servers with no advance notice.
Yeah.
I think they had too much goodwill from saying that they would honor the previous upgrade thing. So now they're like, well, we got to fuck someone over.
Yeah. So they had done some maintenance. They took down the Little Big Planet servers for maintenance, if I was reading it right, for possibly months there.
Yeah.
And when they finally brought them back online, they were like, hey, they're working again, but hey, anybody that was playing on a PlayStation 3 or Vita, you can't play anymore. We killed that functionality. Sorry.
We take the servers down for 4 months to downgrade them.
Yeah,
enjoy. Funcom buys the Conan IP.
That's weird.
It's very weird. And then Funcom came out and had a statement where they said they want to do to Conan. This is the Barbarian, by the way.
Right.
They want to do to Conan what Fortnite did with Marvel characters.
Yeah, isn't?
And I don't.
Aren't several Conan stories in the public domain now? Now I know the characters are still copyright protected.
Correct. I think some of them are. But I'm not totally sure how that all works and what is and isn't. I think a couple of them are.
It's just weird to me to see smallish video game company buys well-known historic and intellectual property.
I believe what they bought was like the video game rights.
No, they bought the full rights. They bought the company that owns the IP.
Oh no, that's bad.
It'd be like if a headline said Majesco Entertainment buys Agatha Christie's library.
Oh, because they also bought Brand McMorran and Solomon Kane as well. Because I remember now that was included,
right?
Which I don't fucking know, man. I'm a big Conan the Barbarian fan. I'm a little nervous about what Funcom is going to do by way of Fortnite Marvel characters to Conan the Barbarian.
Right.
I don't even know what that means.
Yeah, seriously.
It's just weird. Yeah. Super Mario 64 glitch from an 8-year-old speedrun is being attributed to interference from cosmic rays.
And the weirdest part is, the more I read into it, the more plausible it sounds.
Yeah, so basically, it boils down to during a speed run, a weird glitch happened. No one could reproduce it until someone figured out that flipping a single bit at a specific point can cause it to happen. And the only feasible way for that bit to have been flipped would have been some type of interference that was capable of flipping a bit.
Yes.
Like a cosmic ray.
Or just some hardware failure of
like
some
a
sort.
Cosmic Ray Saturn.
It's
the
most likely
Silver
cosmic
Surfer
rays.
fired out a cosmic ray from the interdimensional space.
Galactus told him, go fuck with that kid playing Mario.
But I'm so sad.
I see you read Silver
so
Surfer.
Yeah, I did read Silver Surfer. I'm glad that you recognized that. I was a Silver Surfer, but I'm so sad all the time. That's my Silver Surfer impression.
Oh, woe is me. I can fly through space, and I look so rad.
The GameCube turned 20.
It did.
Which means, I think, going by math, we should be dead by now. I don't know how this has happened.
Yeah, I was in college when the GameCube came out.
Oh, no. RetroArch has officially released on Steam.
Yes, it's been in kind of early access, limited request for a while now, but now it is properly released, so anybody can go grab it. And like they said before, all the cores are DLC, but you can also drop in whatever cores you have from other RetroArch releases. So, the big advantage of it is cloud saves. It will back up all of your RetroArch saves to the Steam cloud.
Yeah. Classic Sony futuristic racing game Wipeout returns as a card-based idle game for mobile.
You love card games. You were just looking for a new card game, weren't you?
I do like card games, but I don't like crap. Well, that's not true. I do like crap.
You do like crap. You were just saying about how much you love Conan IP.
Hey, hold on a minute.
Uh-huh. Yeah. You got a follow-up to that one?
Oh, I don't fucking know. I guess, sure. Everything's an idle card mobile game now. Why
right?
Fuck not. Sir Clive Sinclair, creator of the ZX Spectrum, passed away at age 81.
That's tragic.
So I've been seeing a lot of outpourings of people voicing their love for him and his creations, and that's been nice. Here in America, not a lot of people know about it.
Yeah, his works are sadly not really well known over here. So it's been neat reading the stories and learning about a lot of the stuff that he made.
Yes,
like that electric 3-wheeled vehicle. I don't remember what they called it, but it looked really cool.
A German retailer inexplicably found a sealed stock of Lufia, known as Lufia 2 in the US, and made it available for sale in their stores for €79.99.
Uh-huh.
The version made available is the version in the oversized box that came bundled with a strategy guide.
Yeah, and they apparently had hundreds of them, and they're at their various retailers. I'm sure they've sold out by now, but
right.
For a day or two there, you could go to this German store and just buy brand new copies of Lufia 2 for Super NES.
How weird. I was going to buy one, but then I was like, no, because by the time I import it and ship it, it's going to end up costing like $200.
Also, it was in store only. You couldn't buy it online.
Oh, lame. Yep. Previously leaked Castlevania Advance Collection, again leaked by another rating agency, this time in Taiwan. New rating confirms platforms as PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC, aka everything.
I'm down.
I'm also down. I love Circle the Moon, and the other two are good too.
Yeah, I am going to reverse that and say I love Aria Sorrow, and the other two are good too.
And finally,
no love for Harmony of Dissonance here.
Yeah. Finally, Yuji Naka, who we speculated about where his career is going to go recently on our Yuji Naka episode, says he's working by himself on a mobile game.
Yeah.
I believe he said he was doing it in the Unity engine.
I believe so.
Think. Yeah. He's making a mobile game on his own, one-man team by himself.
That seemed to be where he was at his best, is when he was working as a programmer, as the near soul programmer, and not trying to direct a bunch of people. So so I wish him luck. I hope it turns out to be something great.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But let's get into the topic at hand. This week we're talking licensed console variants.
So let's to find that real quick.
Because this episode, as much as I was thanking you for doing all the research, this was my idea. I wanted to do this episode.
Correct. Yes.
But basically, in the before times,
yes.
Before the video game industry was set in stone in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
Hardware companies would license out their video game hardware for inclusion in other hardware.
Right. And also kind of the main example of this, what a lot of people thought the video game industry would eventually lead to was the 3DO, which was not just sold by Panasonic, or not sold by 3DO at all. It was sold by Panasonic, but there was also other versions made by other companies.
Which this is something we saw before with earlier game consoles, like pre-NES era game consoles. You saw like Ataris from a bunch of different companies. And so it's this thing where for a while there, it seemed like video games were going to be a technology that was included in new things and treated like so many other technologies.
Like VCRs.
Yeah. Like, my TV includes a VCR that plays VHS, and it was just kind of assumed it would be that way.
Yeah. And then it wasn't.
It was not that way. There was some weird confusion. I feel like once the like PS2, GameCube, Xbox era hit, it was like, no. This is what it is, because that was the first big generation far enough away from the weird early to mid 90s fuckery that we were like, all right, this is what video games are.
Yeah.
This kind of makes sense. We've got this figured out now. Now it's iterative. Now everyone releases a new box every 5 years.
That said, there were still some weird ones even then. And then the Xbox One came around, and Microsoft was like, this is going to be your set-top box. It's going to do all your set-top box things. It'll be your cable box. It'll be your everything. And everyone's going to have one. It's not going to be just like some other video game system. So I'm still not convinced that they've given up on this idea. I think
you also see kind of the modern version of that idea with things like Steam and their Steam OS and Steam Box and stuff, which kind of failed. But you see it with just little things, like you see this manifesting in the technology market in other ways, just never quite in the way of video game hardware support.
Yeah.
But now, like, Game Pass streaming is on a bunch of different platforms. You can play PlayStation streaming games on your PC. Like, it lives on.
Right.
Just not necessarily in the form of gluing a cartridge slot to your Sharp television. But we obviously will not be covering all of these because that would take many episodes.
No.
And we also haven't used any of these because we aren't made of money.
That is true.
So that makes this episode a little bit different than our usual fare. This is more us kind of looking on with you, the listener, at what these things seem like to us. Because we don't have any of them, because almost all of them across the board are extremely expensive collector's items.
And often very, very rare. So this is just us all looking in from the outside.
As far as first encounters with any of the hardware we have listed, I have limited encounters with a couple of them, but for the most part, I mean, they were things I read about on Wikipedia or saw in weird YouTube videos of like, hey, did you know they made this thing?
Right.
And so that was just kind of where it was limited for me.
Right. I have owned one of the things we will mention. I have played with a couple of the others, but for the most part, this was just all weird stuff that felt like a dream, like it shouldn't have been in reality. And when you try to describe it to somebody later, they're like, no.
Yeah, that doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
So Saturn, why don't you take it away by telling me what the hell a Sharp Nintendo television is?
So the Sharp Nintendo television was made by Sharp, obviously, and it is a television, a CRT television, that has a built-in NES, just like your TV with your built-in VCR.
Right. It's the same basic concept.
Right. But with an NES port. It came out in Japan and North America. And I
didn't realize these came out in North America.
Oh yeah. Yeah. There was the NES version. In Japan, it was the 14-inch and the 19-inch model. In the US, we only got the 19-inch model because we have big homes and we care a lot about size for a lot of reasons. It was available in Japan from 83 through 89. The US model, which again had an NES, not a Super NES, was available from 89 to 95. That's the year before the N64 came out. That's the year the PlayStation came out.
I don't know if we said it. Obviously, it's a CRT television. It's a 14-inch CRT
it's
television.
It's 19-inch in America.
Is it 19? Oh, my gosh. But the Japanese one was 14 inches,
Correct.
right?
Well, the Japanese one was either 14 or 19. We only got 19.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. But yeah, it was available for sale in the U.S. through 1995. And notably, the NES hardware was, again, built in. So there was no RF cable connecting it. There was no composite cables connecting it. It was directly connected to the board. So you were getting a perfect RGB signal from the system. And of course, the NES doesn't support native RGB. So
so what color palette did it use?
Its own custom color palette.
Oh, I just assumed it would use the same color palette from the PlayChoice 10.
No, that would be too simple. It has its own. And some people say it is the correct one, and some people say the PlayChoice 10 is the correct one.
You know, knowing that this came out in America and knowing that it was offered for so many years, it kind of makes me wonder if, like, I would be inclined to say that, yes, this seems to be the intended consumer color palette of the NES. Now, I've not seen this palette. I don't know what it looks like.
A lot of emulators support it. They do emulate it, just like they emulate the PlayChoice 10 palette.
Right.
For me, the PlayChoice 10 palette has always looked weird.
I was about to say, it always seemed like a little garish to me.
Yeah.
It just seems kind of strange.
Right. And though the disc system didn't connect to it because the cartridge port is just on the front of a TV and you couldn't just slap that adapter on there, fans have discovered that if you take a Famicom to NES adapter and then plug that into an NES to Famicom adapter, it gives you just enough of a bridge that you can slam it in there. And then you can play Famicom Disk System games with native RGB.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And of course, the Japanese one, you could presumably plug in NES games into a Famicom adapter and have space.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, in 1990, they released the Sharp Super Famicom TV, which was a TV with the Super Famicom built into it.
Now,
and that one was...
This I've never even seen.
Yeah, it's certainly less common over here since it never came out outside of Japan. And it looks goofy because the cartridge and I believe also controller ports are all above the screen instead of below.
Oh my God.
And it was available in 14 and 21 inch models. I couldn't figure out when the discontinuation date was.
The cartridge is also tilted forward like it's about to fire out of the top of the TV like a cannon.
Right. It is very strange. The only time I've ever seen one outside of, just researching this thing specifically was I saw some the early footage that Nintendo Power had sent out on the VHS tape about Street Fighter II Turbo. Showed somebody testing it on this, and I always assumed it was just some weird internal Nintendo test device.
Right, a test unit or something.
Right. I did not realize they sold this stupid-looking Super Nintendo TV to the public, or I would have bitched and moaned until someone found one.
The Sharp Nintendo television looks cool in that like 80s kind of way.
Right.
It looks very neat. It's very cool-looking television.
Yeah. the Super Nintendo TV looks stupid in that very 90s way.
It looks stupid as hell, man.
Yeah, I love it.
Oh my God.
I want it so bad.
Why? I can imagine it's thousands of dollars.
Oh, it's very expensive. And
now it has controller ports on the bottom. Those aren't on the top.
Okay,
which is those are on the bottom on the front, which is nice because you're not doing that dangle thing down the side of your screen.
I couldn't find if anybody said it was compatible with the Satellaview or not. I can't imagine it would be though.
Well, how does the Satellaview connect?
Doesn't it connect at the bottom?
I don't know. That's why I'm legit.
It might use an adapter like the FDS. I don't remember.
Now, the FDS is obviously not compatible with the Sharp Nintendo television.
Unless you use two adapters, a Famicom to NES adapter and then an NES to Famicom adapter all stuck together.
Right. That's normal?
Yeah, that's how you do it.
Oh, God. All right. I'm wondering, I want to see if anyone's selling these Super Nintendo ones on eBay.
Oh, they've got to be a fortune if they're on eBay.
Oh, yeah. All right. So here's a buy it now for, you know what? It's $1,600.
That's barely more than a copy of Panzer Dragoon Saga.
Free shipping from Japan. That's honestly not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
That's honestly pretty good.
And there are several. There's one they're all about $1,500.
That's almost as much as my car.
Yeah, so that's that's not a terrible price. Free ship from Japan. For free shipping a CRT from television from Japan alone is going to be $300-$400.
Right. So that's not bad. It's still not what I would pay, but it's not bad.
I wouldn't pay. I would pay for it. Although to be fair, $1,600 is less money than the current market rate of some PVMs.
That's true. Which is,
so just
and these have native
out
RGB connection to the built-in Super Nintendo, so
throwing it out there.
Anyway,
all right, let's move on to more Famicom shenanigans. Yes. What the hell is a Sharp Twin Famicom?
It is made by Sharp and not by Nintendo, and it is a Famicom with a built-in Famicom disk system.
So this came out in Japan.
Correct. Yes.
Why did Nintendo not just make it?
Oh, Nintendo made a separate Famicom disk system that you attach to your Famicom.
Right, I'm aware of that. But obviously they had some interest in a dual unit because they licensed this out to Sharp.
No, Sharp made it.
Well, right, but obviously Sharp can't just make Nintendo hardware without Nintendo saying that's okay.
Presumably, yeah.
So presumably Nintendo was like, yeah, Sharp, you can make this twin Famicom thing. And I know from collector circles that the twin Famicom is a very sought after Famicom.
Yeah, because it has a native AV output, which the Famicom didn't get until the top loader, or not the top loader, the AV Famicom that looks like the top loader NES, which was pretty late in the Famicom's life. Prior to that, the only Famicom with AV output was the Sharp Twin Famicom. When you turn on the FDS, normally you get that fancy Nintendo logo screen as it's loading the disc. On the Twin Famicom, you just get a generic Famicom logo that doesn't even look like the Famicom logo. It's just the word Famicom in a weird font.
Now, I'm seeing the Sharp Twin Famicom.
Yeah, there's two models, and each one came in two colors.
I'm seeing this says it's in red, but this is an orange. This is an orange Twin Famicom.
Yeah, they've mostly turned orange over the years.
And I have never wanted anything more in my life than an orange Twin Famicom. The only thing I might want more than that is a Spice Orange GameCube. But now that I've seen this and I know that they've turned orange, I need one. It's ripened now, and now it's ready for me to purchase it.
You left it on the vine long enough.
Vine ripened Sharp Twin Famicoms.
Yeah, they were sought after for their video output. They're nice for that model.
You know what? Not very expensive.
Yeah, they're still somewhat affordable, and a lot of Japanese consoles are more affordable than the Western equivalents. But
here's a red one with a new belt tested for $175. Oof. That's
more than I'd pay, but
not hard. Here's one for $150. Comes with 3 games. It's black though. Yeah. Why would you want a black one? You can get a Spice Orange one. Gross. I want like the faded cigarette gross one. Where is that? All right. Anyway.
Next we have the Sharp Famicom Titler, which is another Sharp Famicom item.
Now I think I remember this. Was this not made to take and put words on screenshots?
It can do that. The official reason it was made was for broadcast purposes, for people who needed to broadcast as clear of a picture from a NES as possible, mostly for use on television.
Okay.
And so, yes, they would frequently overlay something on it. But yeah, it did output, it internally generated RGB, it output S-video, which in 1989, that's pretty good. S-video was high quality at the time.
Right.
But otherwise, it's just a Famicom.
It has, I see it has a stylus included.
Does it?
Yeah, there's a little pin. I'm on the Wikipedia page for it, and there's a little fucking pin next to it, like it's a little S pin for your new Samsung phone.
It's the S pin for Sharp.
I'm trying to figure out what it's for. It features a keyboard, pressure-sensitive touchpad, used to produce subtitles. It must be for the touchpad.
It has to be.
Yeah.
Because touchpads back then were not great. You needed a stylus.
Yeah, you absolutely did. But still, RGB video, you know. And this does, it says it uses PlayChoice 10 hardware.
Huh.
Clarity that comes from RGB is prized feature, blah, blah, blah. Yep. Shared with... Okay, I think it's just talking about RGB, because I was wondering about the palette in this one.
Yeah, I have no idea. I'm guessing that it's probably similar to the one that they put in their televisions. That would be my guess.
Sharp. Yeah. But yeah, there's all of Sharp's Nintendos.
Yeah, that's the Sharp Nintendo collection.
Now, we're moving on to more Nintendos.
That's true.
And I love this.
Yeah.
This is the Hyundai Convoy.
Correct. Hyundai.
Which is the Korean Nintendo.
Right. It's just
entertainment system.
It's basically just a Western NES, but with a Hyundai logo on it, and the Korean text that says Convoy.
This says Convoy.
Yeah. So it has a different lockout chip than the North American model, so it can't play North American games, but otherwise it is the North American hardware.
And it is officially licensed.
Yes.
They just couldn't. Nintendo just couldn't sell it in Korea for reasons.
Yeah, Korea had laws against importing goods from other countries at the time. So the way they got around it was they licensed it to Hyundai, the car company. And so
now I'm reading that it has a different lockout chip.
Right. Yeah, it has the different.
It does not use the 10NES.
Correct. It is still 10NES, but it's a slightly different variant of it. So that it can only read the Convoy games.
And there are not a lot of Convoy games.
No, there weren't. And there was also a Super Convoy, which again is a Super Nintendo, but this time they used the PAL model as the base instead of the North American model. And then there was the Game Boy Convoy, which is just a stupid name.
I'm looking at some of the games for this Convoy.
Yeah.
And here's a game that says it released in 1993 called In Smash Bros.
Okay.
And like I'm on some weird wiki page. This has to be fake.
I have no idea.
This is there's no way they released a game called In Smash Bros in Korea in 1993.
There were
on the Convoy.
There were a few Convoy exclusive games that never came out in another region.
Such
I couldn't tell you their names.
Beako Block,
possibly,
and Mega Man Blackout.
I can't speak to that.
Oh, never mind. This is 2015. This is a ROM hack.
Yeah. So yeah, there were a couple of exclusive Convoy games that came out during that era that have since become traded in the ROM community, obviously, because they're just NES ROMs.
Right. I mean, it looks like most of these are goofy ROM hacks that have just been passed back and forth. So I don't know what weird wiki I ended up on.
I don't know either. But yeah, the Convoy was just a Korean NES. I just like it because it's a NES with a Hyundai logo on it.
Okay, now we're getting into even weirder territory.
Yep, we're still in Korea.
Still in Korea. This is the Samsung Game Boy.
Yes, or Aladdin Boy.
Not Game, no. Game Boy. Well,
Game
it's
Boy.
The Samsung Game Boy to me, okay, Saturn. You can call it whatever you want, but...
Yeah, so it's a Master System.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's the Korean Master System from Samsung. And yeah, so they called it the Game Boy, and then later they released the Game Boy 2. It's also a Master System. And then they released the Aladdin Boy. It's also a Master System.
What the fuck?
And then Samsung got the rights to release the Genesis, and they called it the Super Game Boy. But then they called it the Super Aladdin Boy, and then later the Super Aladdin Boy 2.
I mean...
And then they released the Handy Game Boy, but that was Game Gear. But then they released the CD Aladdin Boy, which was Sega CD.
These can't be real.
It's all real. It's the dumbest name.
The Handy Game Boy is a South Park joke about video games. What the fuck?
Yeah, I didn't even really have anything to say about these Samsung consoles. I just thought their names were so stupid that I had to address it.
What the fuck is this controller they have on the Game Boy?
Oh,
the Master System already has a bad controller here. I'm sending it to you.
Okay,
but
good.
This is the one included in the Game Boy.
All right, yeah.
And it's like All the other hardware is just Master System hardware.
But they have made an oval version of the Master System controller.
Itty bitty round controller. That's why.
But it looks like it has an NES D-pad on it. That's pretty
It does.
neat.
It seems to have a superior D-pad,
Right?
which makes me wonder if in the Master System collecting community, if people are like, oh, well, you want to get the Game Boy because it's got the best D-pad, right? That's the best OEM D-pad. So that you get your Game Boy.
Is Samsung considered OEM for the Master System now?
I mean,
well, they did make the Game Boy. So.
Like, presumably, they got permission
they definitely
make
had
the
permission.
Game Boy.
Right.
So that would imply to me that that's OEM. That's your best OEM. It's from the Game Boy or the handy Aladdin Boy. Well, I don't even fucking know what they're called. I don't even understand.
Yeah, they went a little weird with the names there. All right,
CD Aladdin Boy 2. Hey, what's your favorite game console? The CD Aladdin Boy 2.
What's that? Oh, I hook it up to my Super Game Boy.
Your what? No, it's called Game Boy. No. Let's talk Pioneer Laser Active.
Getting away from weird regional variants. Yeah.
Not that this isn't weird.
This is still weird, but it's not regional at least. It's something.
The Laser Active, now, I was alive when Laser Active came out. It was 1993. Yeah. But I don't... Like, this would have had to have seemed like the fucking future.
Oh, yeah. And it was super expensive and only at limited stores. So it's not... like, you didn't encounter this at the Toys R Us. It wasn't going to be on the video game aisle. This was higher-end electronic stores. You would see
and
this.
I've just learned that there's... the term is it's a converged device.
Yeah. This
says laser discs, compact discs, console games, LDG karaoke discs, Mega Drive, Genesis games, PC Engine, TurboGrafx 16, ROM cartridges, and CD-ROMs.
Correct. So
with these expansion packs.
Yeah, they had the expansion packs. The basic unit just played laser discs and CDs.
Right.
And then you would get expansion packs for karaoke or whatever you wanted to do on there. I think VCD required an expansion disc. And then there was the expansion pack for Genesis or Mega Drive, depending on which country you were in. The Mega pack was in Japan. The Genesis pack was in the US. And then there was also the PC Engine pack in Japan and the TurboGrafx pack in the US. And the Genesis one could play Genesis games, obviously. It could also play Sega CD games, and it could play Sega LD games.
Excuse me?
Of which there were a few, which were made exclusively for this. And with the TurboGrafx pack, you had TurboGrafx games, you had CD-ROM-ROMs, you had Super CD-ROM-ROMs. If you were using the right arcade card, you could use arcade CD-ROM-ROMs, and of course, LD-ROM-ROMs, which were laser discs.
Were any of them good, or was it all FMV trash?
Oh, it's mostly FMV trash. I can't say definitively because at best I've emulated any of this, and it's really hard to find the LD-ROM ISOs, and even harder to find a BIOS that supports them. So emulating it is not super easy.
I think the most important takeaway is that they made Pioneer Laser Active branded controllers for these modules with Pioneer Laser Active branding on them, and I want them. They're so cool.
They have been expensive for a while.
Yeah, I imagine so.
And also, speaking of price, okay, when the unit came out, it cost 89,800 yen in Japan, which the US version cost 970 American dollars. In I believe this was in 93.
1993, September 13th, 93.
Yeah. So it was $970 in 93, and that was just for the Laserdisc player. The expansion packs cost $600 each. So if you wanted to play Genesis games, that was an extra $600. If you also wanted to play TurboGrafx, that's another $600.
And newsflash, you could buy Genesis or TurboGrafx for less than $600.
Oh yeah, Genesis at the time would have been between 100 and 150 tops.
And I'm also seeing units sold 10,000. That is not much for something that was on the market for 3 years.
Yeah, this was very much marketed as a premier device. So they didn't expect massive sales, and they didn't get them.
You got what you wanted, Pioneer.
Right.
Let's talk Jvcxi.
Yes, the Xi, known in Japan as the Wonder Mega.
Which just raises more questions. Not that the Xi doesn't raise questions.
Yeah, it's X''EYE, by the way. It's not XI. That would just be 11. No, it is XI.
JVC 11. Yeah. I didn't even play the last 10.
So the
XI, this was the combo unit.
Yeah, and I saw one of these. I almost bought one at a pawn shop for $20 back in 95.
Yeah.
So yeah, this was a combo Genesis and Sega CD in one unit. It came out first in Japan. There were two different models in Japan that they released before eventually releasing one of them in North America as the XI. It cost $500.
Oh, jeez.
For a Genesis and Sega CD. By the way, you could buy those two separate systems for less than $500.
Yes.
The Japanese release was in April of 92. It didn't come out in America till September of 94, which is almost when the PlayStation came out. And
the
Sega,
XI, everybody.
Yeah, the Sega happened to release a combo unit of their own called the CDX, which also played Genesis and Sega CD games. It also came out in 94, and it was $100 less than the XI.
I'm on Ultimate Console database reading about the XI, and my favorite thing they put is other crap about this console and then a bunch of bullet points.
It did have a JVC branded 3-button Genesis controller. Mm-hmm. Again, a 3-button Genesis controller in 94. This would have been after the release of at least Mortal Kombat 2.
Also had S-video output.
That's true. Yep.
And a karaoke feature.
Well, the Sega CD had karaoke.
Oh, yeah. So I guess it would be included since it includes the Sega CD.
Right.
Yeah. That's...
Yeah.
I've seen these around. I've seen people talk about like, oh, yeah, the XI, that's the one you want to get.
No,
you know, because then you've got your Sega CD and your Genesis all in one. And they had 32Xs for it, right?
Oh, I think the 32X could connect to it.
I'm seeing a 32X modification was offered for 47,000 yen up until 2014 from JVC. So
JVC's still doing pretty well. They're still around.
What? There's no way that's true. What?
I can't speak to that.
Oh my god.
That's
Lukey Games will sell you an XI for $262.
Gross. Yeah.
Let's talk Amstrad Megapc.
Yeah, so this was released in 93 from Amstrad, which for people in Europe or Australia, they know who Amstrad is. They were a computer company. For the rest of the world, we did not see Amstrad, so we are less familiar with that. So yeah, this was a DOS PC released in 93 with a Mega Drive built into it.
Wonderful.
And when you turned it on, you could choose to turn it on in DOS mode or in Mega Drive mode. It cost £1,000 when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
And when it came out, it was pretty outdated because it was running a 386 in 93.
Yeah, I'm seeing a 386 SX for £599 sterling.
Yeah. So there was also a similar unit in Japan that was called the Terra Drive, but it was actually released by Sega, so it wasn't one of these weird licensed ones. But it was still weird because it was Sega's PC with a Mega Drive built in, but it was a 286, so it was even better.
Yeah. Just if you need more Mega Drives, I guess there you go. What was Sega sitting on a wealth of Mega Drive hardware that they needed to unload?
They were just selling it to Pioneer and to Amstrad and anyone who would take it. Right?
JVC, please. Yeah, can we have some 32X hardware? We're going to offer it till 2014. There's no way that's true. So please, someone verify this information.
When they're saying that, I thought they were just talking like a little spacer to fit the existing 32X on.
Maybe that's what it meant.
But even then, that's grossly overpriced for a spacer. Anyway,
let's talk about the CDI.
So you got the CDI/PC, which was an ISA plug-in card for IBM PCs. It was released in 93 that just let you play CDI games on your computer.
That's what I wanted. More CDI games. Did the CDI have a single game that was not trash garbage?
Oh, you had to specify that.
I mean,
was Myst on CDI?
I'm looking, and it's like, dude, Namco did an Arcade Classics collection on it.
Yeah.
One of the Asterix games is on it.
Yeah.
You got Backgammon.
Yeah, there's Backgammon.
You got a bunch of board games. Cluedo, Backgammon, Axis and Allies. I mean, there's Dragon's Lair 1 and 2.
Right, yeah, you had Dragon's Lair.
But there's just not.
It was kind of a trash platform. I'm just going to throw that out there. I'm sure there are some CDI defenders that will fight me, but...
Is someone out there, if you're like, oh, nah, dog, you got to play whatever. Yeah. I'm looking at a list of games. If you're like, oh, man, you got to play
Mega Race
Kingdom 2, Shadowan, or The Joy of Sex. Those are the CDI games to play. Please let me know. It's on there because I want to know.
It's just a video book. No, it was...
This is just porn.
Was Mega Race on the CDI?
Mega Race... nope. You got Micro Machines.
Oh, that could have been a good port of Micro Machines. Of course, it's already on
Myst
everything else.
Myst was on the CDI. Okay. You were correct there. You've got Pack Panic.
Oh, good. Pack Panic.
And I'm almost done with it. That's really... I'm seeing nothing.
Yeah.
I'm seeing nothing.
All right, let's go back to Genesis shit.
Oh, apparently they made Zelda games for the CDI.
Yes.
Did you?
Yeah, that was also Hotel Mario.
This is one of the few... on this list that I am aware of.
Yes. I owned
the Genesis 3 by Majesco because they were selling it in Bed Bath & Beyond in the 2000s.
Correct. Yeah.
I saw it there. Well, I was like, this must be the Beyond they're talking about.
Well, yeah.
Genesis 3.
So it came out in 98.
Yes.
So let's remember 1998. That's the year Final Fantasy VIII came out.
Year before the Dreamcast.
Oh, that's the year the Dreamcast came out in Japan.
Yep. Yeah.
So this was a little late in the Genesis lifespan. It was $50. It's teeny tiny. It's so teeny tiny.
It's cheap. It's cheap as all get out.
It does not support the CD-ROM. It does not support the 32X. It does not support the power base converter. It does use the same output cable as the Genesis 2, but it does not work with all Genesis 2 video cables.
And so this was basically that era where Majesco was basically reprinting not only the entire Genesis library, but the system.
Yeah. A lot of the big titles Majesco was putting back out. Also, to release alongside it, they published a version of Frogger on the Genesis.
Great.
Good. Also, Virtua Racing doesn't work at all. The Game Genie won't power on connected to it.
Weird.
It's got some weird hardware changes from the original. The cartridge slot, however, is the same shape as a Japanese Mega Drive, so you can just play Japanese games on it. Just jam them in there, and you're good to go.
This was like it was sold everywhere. They printed the shit out of this thing.
Yeah. The weirdest part about it is possibly the box itself, because Genesis packaging after the first couple of years was always red themed with the word Genesis along the left side, just to make it all stand together. And this one is blue themed with the word Sega in giant font along the left side,
even though it's put out by Majesco.
Correct. So it's just a really weird product. I had one for several years. My favorite thing about it was that it fit in my pocket. Mm-hmm. And so every now and then, if I was fucking with one of my friends, I'd be like, hey, you got your Genesis on you? And he'd be like, why would I have... And I'd be like, oh, because I do.
I got mine. Did you... You don't need... Okay, I'll put it...
Oh, okay, all right.
I thought we were doing... I thought we were playing video games. I brought my Genesis... Oh, the other card, the other pockets, just 3 Game Boy pockets. Yeah, sorry.
There's a bunch of batteries for some reason.
Tell me about the LodgeNet and the Nintendo Gateway System and its suite of hospitality services.
Yeah, so this is possibly cheating because I think it might have been. It might have been made by Nintendo.
But I've seen the N64 one around.
Yeah, I'm not certain it was made by Nintendo. Some of it looks janky enough that I hope Nintendo didn't make it. But it's basically a system that
now LodgeNet did partner. Obviously, they partnered with Nintendo, absolutely. So it's not like it's not just like rip off hardware.
No. At the very least, it's licensed, but some of it at least may be official. But yeah, it's hardware that allows for streaming of, depending on which model it is, Super Nintendo or Game Boy Color or Game Boy Advance or N64 or GameCube games over a local network to this weird controller thing that's either connected directly to a TV or to sometimes a monitor on the back of a plane seat.
Yeah.
And it was basically just game rentals via streaming. And they had some really interesting controllers that some of them look super janky. Mm-hmm. The ones for the airplanes look especially janky because they were also supposed to control the seats adjustment and everything.
The Super Nintendo controller looks nice.
Yeah, some of them look okay. But try to find the airplane controller for the Nintendo Gateway system, because it looks like a long stick that also has other buttons, and then just in the middle somewhere is some video game buttons, and you just kind of have to reach your hand around and make it work. And it's the weirdest shit. And
I remember seeing these. I remember seeing the N64 one, and I'm reading sales numbers. Apparently, this was a highly successful program.
Oh yeah, it lasted 20 years from 93 to 2013.
Good gosh.
Now, I couldn't find any confirmation on if it was still supported up until 2013 or just still available in the wild until 2013. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that lasted a while.
Yeah, this is nuts. Right? I didn't realize it went on so long, or was so, because they have a lot of numbers. LodgeNet reported that within the middle of 1998 alone, 35 million hotel guests encountered the Nintendo name, and reported sales of more than 54 million minutes of Nintendo-based games.
That's nuts, especially considering they charged like $50 a minute or some shit.
Yeah, it was nuts.
Yeah.
Let's talk PCFX.
Yes.
And the weird PCFX add-on card.
Yeah, now this is technically made by NEC, so I'm not sure if this even counts.
Not really licensed, but it's the same.
But it is
sort of
still
category.
Weird shit. So yeah, it's like that other thing for the CDI. It's a card that you plug into a computer that lets you play PCFX games on your computer. So there was two different variants. There was the one that was for the NEC PC 9800 computers, which makes sense. It's very similar architecture to the PCFX. And then there was another one that just worked on DOS-V computers. And somebody was telling me they also work on regular DOS computers.
Weird.
And so that's it's just a weird way that you can play all of your softcore PCFX games on your old computer.
Yeah, there are again, PCFX diehards, please tell me what to play on the system,
right?
Because there's a lot of visual novels with scantily clad people.
Correct.
And I, but it's just weird that that they would not license, but create their own add-on cards.
Yeah.
I guess I wonder if it was a thing where the PCFX just wasn't selling.
Oh, it certainly wasn't selling.
And they were like, then maybe this will get people to or we can offload some hardware that we have lying around, and this maybe will get people interested.
And just a couple of years after this is when Virtual Game Station and Bleem came around for PC, and so in theory you could have had one computer running PCFX and PlayStation games. It would have been the fucking future, man.
Oh yeah.
But Sony was not willing to play.
Tell me about the blaster.
Okay, Creative Labs called all their shit blasters. There was the Sound Blaster. There is the
3DO Blaster.
What other blasters did they have? They had the Sound Blaster, the Game Blaster. I think there was a Video
6-year-old
Blaster.
in me really wants you to say Fart Blaster.
Fart Blaster. But no, they also made a 3DO Blaster, officially licensed from the 3DO company.
Right.
And it was released in 94. It just allowed you to play 3DO games on your PC, a lot like these other things we keep talking about.
Oh my gosh.
And it cost $400.
Is that all?
And it came with a CD-ROM drive in case your computer didn't have one.
You know what? That's not a bad fucking value.
Right. Yeah, in 94.
CD-ROM drives were not cheap.
No, they
94.
certainly weren't. So it came with a CD-ROM drive, it came with a 3DO gamepad, and it came with a couple of 3DO games that you could play on it. And so, honestly, it wasn't a bad deal for 94, but it was very expensive. And
the games included were Shockwave from EA and Gritters from Tetragon, and the controller was a Logitech 3DO controller.
Was it a Logitech controller? Okay.
That's what it says.
Huh. But it was just a 3DO controller either way.
Right.
So you could use it on a Panasonic 3DO or whatever. That makes sense. 3DO didn't make hardware. But yeah, it was weird the way that 3DO split so much, because they had the Gold Star version, they had the Panasonic version, and they had this Creative Labs version.
Right.
So it was a weird time for video games. And then last, something I almost completely forgot to put on this list until you mentioned it literally before we started this episode.
Because of course I'd be like, don't forget the GameCube, Saturn.
Yeah.
The GameCube.
Is the Panasonic Q, the GameCube Q, which was just a GameCube, but it also played DVDs.
It plays DVDs!
And
if you can put Homebrew on your GameCube and put a modified shell top on it, it'll also play DVDs.
That's true. But yeah, everyone I knew that was a GameCube fan desperately wanted this. One, it looked cool because it was silver and it had a little LED display on the front.
It's a stainless steel GameCube that plays DVDs with a front-loading tray that comes out like a computer.
Right, and everybody had said that the big reason the PS2 won that generation was because it came with a DVD player. And we were all like, oh, they have to release that GameCube DVD player in America because it'll finally beat Sony. It'll totally just kick Sony down a peg. It wouldn't have, but we were convinced it would have at the time, and I'm so sad it never left Japan.
Yeah. It does have a little LCD playback display on the front of it,
right?
Which just makes it look cute. It came with a weird gray Panasonic GameCube controller.
I do love all the weird controllers these came with.
I mean, really, they're just like controllers with a different logo on them, but it's like weird. It's bizarre. Like seeing a GameCube controller with Panasonic where it would normally say Nintendo.
Yeah. And just imagine like somebody had grown up with a Panasonic 3DO and their next console is a Panasonic GameCube Q. And they're like, Panasonic makes really weird video games.
Someone out there, that was their life. They're just like, yeah, I'm a Panasonic 3DO, my Panasonic GameCube. Oh, Jvcxi, the people that made the CD, the Sega CD. Yeah, I know those guys.
Right.
Oh my gosh. The Q was 39,800 yen when it released.
It was super expensive.
2001.
I remember NCS was selling modified GameCube Qs that played any region GameCube games, and I think they were selling it for like 575 shipped. And several of my friends were like, "You want to put in some money together to get a GameCube Q?" And I was like, "Fucking no, I don't.
Why would I want that?
I have both a DVD player and a GameCube."
Apparently it says it's compatible with virtually all GameCube peripherals except the most important GameCube peripheral, the Game Boy player, because it cannot fit on because they put cute little feet on the bottom of it.
Yeah, but didn't they release a Game Boy player for the Panasonic Q? I believe there is a custom Game Boy player for it.
Oh, I don't know. Now I'm Googling it right now. Panasonic Q Game Boy player.
Yeah, so there's a gray Game Boy player that they made specifically for it. And it has little hole divots for the feet.
It looks so stupid.
It does look stupid.
Oh my god.
But
it's just so, the Panasonic Q is so industrial, 2001 industrial looking.
Right.
I fucking love how stupid this thing is. It's so, in the front is like chromed out.
Yeah. And it's just covered in buttons. Just useless fucking buttons that no DVD player you've ever owned has had a button for cinema on the front. It's just so weird.
And oh my god, have you seen the back of the thing?
Oh yeah. Dude,
it's got like
no idea how much
AV
I looked at
outputs
this back in the day.
Oh my gosh, dude. Oh man. Anyway, that's our episode on licensed console variants. What a weird world of weird. It's also so much bigger than a regular GameCube. It's like twice the size.
Have you seen the remote,
man? No, I haven't seen the remote.
Oh, the remote's huge too. It's like almost as big as a GameCube controller.
Oh, there it is. That's massive.
Yeah.
That's massive.
Yeah, it's so ugly and I love it.
Anyway, oh my god, did the controller ports light up blue?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, fuck. Anyway, that's our episode of licensed controller console variants. What a weird fucking world, man. Yeah. I mean, now obviously,
Now you want all of these things because we talked
Yeah, of
about
course
them.
I do. I'm like kind of thinking about a Shark Twin Famicom. I'm like $150. I could swing that. It's weird because these days like everything's just x86 PC based or ARM based, so hardware's homogenized. Game Pass is on everything. Like theoretically,
that said, we're seeing more variants of the same console now. We're seeing Pro versions and X versions and S versions and all this shit. But it's not as weird as this shit was.
No, this is some strange stuff,
right? Like you had made a reference earlier today talking about some other completely different thing about that feeling when you are talking to the kids from the other school and they look slightly different.
Like you're in second grade and you see a second grade class from a different school and you're like, wow, they look like us, but they're not us.
Yeah, that's this entire episode. It's just
that's what these all feel like. All of them for sure. But what's not a weird, uncanny feeling is going to our Patreon at patreon.com/retrowarriors. You can listen to Talking Wizards. You can do it. It's there. We have it up. There's also uncut versions of this show. We would appreciate your support. It would mean a lot to us if we mean a lot to you.
And now we're gonna give you a list of people that we would definitely say are not weird or uncanny.
That is true. Starting with Earth.
And Luke Saracen Clark.
Dean Schmidt.
Norman.
Matt Kovacs.
Frankie went to Hollywood.
The New Craft.
Burger Champ.
Chris Ruppersberg.
And John Fry.
Are all patrons we want to thank for making the show possible and for supporting us over at Patreon. It means the world to us.
Absolutely.
And so just go out there in the world and just know that somewhere there's a big old chonky GameCube with little light up dingly dangles on the front and big dumb buttons.
Somewhere you can find a Laserdisc player that also plays TurboGrafx games.
You shouldn't, but you can.
Unless you have all the money. If you have all the money, if you're just that guy that's sitting there and is like, there's no way I can spend all of this money in my lifetime. We just gave you a list of items.
I'll tell you how you can find real happiness is supporting your local podcasters on Patreon. Would be a great use.
And then after you've done that.
And then buy a Jvcxi.
Exactly.
Duh. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. We'll be back next week. And as always, let us cling together.